Moving on to a little bit of light relief. Organised sex trafficking.
Light.
If everyone remembers P. Diddy, right? Real name Sean Combs. I remember when he used to be just Puff Daddy. Back in the 90s, he was Puffy. Now he's P. Diddy. At one point, he wanted to be called Brother Love.
That's age badly.
I'm angry at you because usually I guard my ignorance of these things quite fiercely, and I try to not know anything about
Good on you.
rap, hip hop,
Right.
most of the culture scene, so-called culture scene. And now you're forcing me to know more about it.
No, it's a firm policy. Good on you. I agree. Usually I do as well. It's very rarely I'll do a slop, although this is gourmet slop. I very rarely do a sort of a slop segment myself, but I thought a little bit of light relief
Just a
between
Michelin star
you two guys.
slop dish.
Yeah. Because if I had to make a call, he's probably going to go to prison for a very, very long time. We'll get into it in a moment, but his defense is shaky AF. It doesn't look good for him. Sean has been held on remand since September last year. They didn't give him bail because even if they put like millions of dollars on it, he could just afford that, right?
Yep.
And he probably is a flight risk as well. I remember Harry did a segment months and months ago where it looked like P. Diddy was trying to run, or he made some attempt to, but it was only a half-hearted thing, and they're always going to get him. So, but he's being put on trial in southern Manhattan, which is usually quite a strong place. Like it's where they'll try some of their worst criminals,
Right.
Because usually, unless you're lucky enough to get a jury that's the full-blown OJ jury, unless he's lucky enough to get that. He will see some justice, I would have thought. So, what are the actual charges? It is sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering with conspiracy. That's technically the charges. They're quite serious charges.
Yes.
Like he could be looking at years and years, like decades.
Right.
I mean, they gave R. Kelly got 20 odd years. They gave him, and his charges were less than that. I mean, his were child sex offences as well. But anyway, Sean Combs' indictment is worse than R. Kelly's. So if he is found guilty, it's only the first day. Yesterday was the first day of his trial. So we'll keep you updated at some point if and when the verdict comes in. We'll let you know. Maybe me or Harry will do a segment on it. I'm just mildly interested in it. Like I say, I don't usually engage in this sort of thing. But when it's someone so famous, because P. Diddy was a massive A-lister in the 90s, right?
Yes.
Bad Boy Records.
Right.
He's a bad boy for life, if you didn't know.
Oh.
But it seems like he really is like quite a bad person. There's this sort of kind of cut and dry. Whether he's guilty of these specific crimes, it's for the jury to decide, isn't it? But there's no real doubt. I mean, part of his defence is saying, yeah, I did most of these things. So his defence seems to be boiling down to, because yesterday there was the opening statements from both sides, it seems like his defence is resting on a couple of things. One was, I'm just a swinger, bro. I didn't realise I'm not doing anything criminal. This is just how I live. Yeah, it's like a bit degenerate or whatever, but I engage in loads and loads of weird sex stuff, but it's nothing criminal.
Yeah.
This is just how I live. This is just my lifestyle. I didn't coerce anyone. They never told me they felt coerced, so like that's a shaky, because ignorance of the law is no defence.
Right.
No.
Is it?
No, of course not.
Although actually in Britain recently, a few people have got away with claiming that. But anyway, in Manhattan, they're not going to let you get away with that. And the other sort of pillar of his defence is saying everyone else is doing it. Like, I'm not the only super rich, famous dude that has crazy
We're all
parties.
degenerate criminals.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Arrest us all?
Well,
Isn't the whole premise of the genre to boast about your degeneracy and criminality?
Yes.
So I don't think anybody's surprised that someone who makes a living by boasting about being a criminal degenerate is, in fact, a criminal degenerate. I mean, respect for authenticity, but if these things are true, please burn in hell.
he's authentically a wrong'un. Yeah.
That's just...
So yesterday, some of the stuff that came out, they're starting to... First Witness took the stand. I mean, one of the because this trial, it's not going back through everything he ever did wrong, going back to 1991 or whatever.
Right.
It's a couple of sort of specific cases where the government, the prosecution, feel like they've got a really strong case.
Right.
And from everything I've read and watched, they do seem to have a really strong case, sort of mountains of evidence, really. So it does sort of rest on things like, well, so his ex-girlfriend, how many pimps call their prostitutes girlfriends? But anyway, his girlfriend, Cassandra, she's sort of claiming all sorts of things. And
not being believed.
It comes down, well, no, largely.
Oh, right.
I just wanted to know, are we in Believe All Women season or are we out of Believe All Women season? It's good that you clarified that.
Well, we should see. It does come down to sort of a matter of coercion. Right. Whether like false fraud and coercion is sort of the legalese. Okay. She will claim I was forced and coerced and there was violence. I mean, there's definitely violence. There's a clip out there that's been out there for ages of him knocking her about in some hotel somewhere. So it's definitely violent.
Yes.
So it comes down to her and people, other witnesses and defendants saying, or litigants saying, I was forced and coerced, and it's a criminal enterprise that he's engaged in. And him saying, no, I didn't coerce anyone. They did everything of their own free will, or I paid them up front, and things like that. So it will come down to that. But there's mountains of evidence.
I have 2 points here. First, every time the Christian right in the United States said that this kind of art is absolutely degenerate and will make society worse, they were accused of instigating moral panics, and they were told that they were completely wrong to do so, and that this was just racism, or that this was just them being evil and imagining things. It turns out, actually, there's a very good chance that they were right, because we know these things about these people. Secondly, my very limited understanding of this is that everybody was invited to these people's parties. And that the level of participation from celebrities was quite high. So as with the Epstein files, I'm not that interested in him. I'm interested in who else. Because the real story here is very much the who else. I mean, these are people who get invited. I don't know if he was invited, but these are people who get invited to do concerts for politicians and to participate in political rallies and to try to sell the narrative of usually the Democratic Party to the vast group who consumes this culture. Yeah. And you have to ask yourself, well, were they ever invited to these parties? Did they partake in the abuse? What did they know, and when did they know it? And we had the same thing with Weinstein, where everybody knew that Weinstein was a rapist and that, people were being pushed to get raped. And then I think it was Quentin Tarantino who came out and said, yeah, we all knew. Who else knew? This is what strikes me as particularly interesting. You guys were clearly all in on this.
Right.
And this was really your culture. And this was what you were promoting to make the mainstream culture of not just the United States, but also the West.
Yeah.
So can we have that conversation, please?
Yeah.
Rather than whatever sordid particulars of this guy.
Can't help but think there may be some overlap between the Epstein and Diddy lists as well.
Yeah, almost certainly.
A few names might just happen to be on 2 lists.
And Weinstein was a friend of Hillary Clinton's, and he was being thanked by all kinds of senior people in the Democratic Party. So the overlap between the Hollywood degenerates and the political degenerates seems to be
incestuous.
Yes.
What about the Podesta list?
That's a different conversation.
So the Podesta list, the Epstein list, the Weinstein list, the Diddy list. And the Diddy list is perhaps not quite as eminent as the Epstein list, but it's still massive, and it's still like giant A list. I mean, everyone from, and I'm not saying any of these people are guilty of any particular crime, but it was everyone, right? It was everyone from Beyonce and Jay-Z, LeBron, J-Lo on down. It was a thing in the 90s, or at least the early 2000s, that Diddy had these parties, that he had a party yacht.
Right.
And that you were among the select chosen if you got invited to the Diddy yacht, right? I mean, and this is going back 20 years plus. And there were a few people, like I think Cat Williams famously came out and said, no, Diddy's a total wrong-un. And other people, like I think 50 Cent also is on record as being against I think quite clearly being against how Sean Combs was living his life. There's a funny clip of Mike Tyson sort of curling his lip, turning his nose up at a P. Diddy advance. So people knew about it, right? People knew about it. It was like Bill Cosby. It took a comedian to say something on stage, and then everyone's like, wait, what? Bill Cosby is a predator? Well, we never knew. People knew. People knew.
Odds are they
like the Weinstein thing, it takes someone to actually break ranks.
Yes.
And then suddenly, it's a real thing.
And they all start moralizing and saying that there's a rape culture and saying that all men are naturally rapists. And then you look at their allies and you kind of go, hold on a second, is this an accusation or a confession?
Yeah.
Or is your view just informed by the fact that you hang around a lot of people who happen to think this way?
Yes.
Or act this way, I should say.
Act this way, rather, yes. Absolutely.
So there's all sorts of... It's a legal mess in all sorts of ways. Like, he's trying to counter-sue some of his accusers for, defaming him or whatever. And there's all sorts of stuff. Like, what's something I read? There's actually a whole podcast, BBC podcast, Diddy on Trial, with like 20 plus episodes already. It's only day one of the trial. But like, there's something come out where he dangled one of that Cassie's friends. He dangled her off a 17th story balcony, allegedly. And people were scared of him. So properly scared of him.
Why is the BBC World Service doing a 23 series podcast?
Good question.
Your tax money at work, ladies and
gentlemen. That's what being a part of a World Service means.
Yeah.
No, embarrassing. No, quite right. And yeah, it's just in the news cycle at the moment. There's some prosecutors saying they've got lists of dozens or even hundreds of people. And Sean's defence is largely, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong, like mens rea, that thing. I didn't. Like, you're allowed to have crazy parties with consensual people. What's wrong with that? And it's a super weak defence. That's weak. You're sort of admitting it. I mean, he has formally pled not guilty. Formally, his defensive line is, I've never engaged in sex crime of any type ever. But also, I did have these sort of crazy parties all the time.
There was something on the previous link that said, I'm sure some of it is true, but it's being exaggerated. And I just...
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's exaggeration. I didn't... Yes, this like dodgy stuff went down, but it wasn't that bad.
Degenerates. We brag about being degenerate gangsters, but really you shouldn't take it too seriously. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean...
And everyone else is doing it.
And everyone else is doing it.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But so also just to get back to the sort of the facts, gentlemen. I mean, sex trafficking, and what was it? Transportation for prostitution. So it gets into racketeering with conspiracy. Ooh, that's heavy. But like transportation for prostitution and sex trafficking. So it's not just I'll buy or patronize a prostitute or an escort or whatever it is. No, I'm actually going out there and getting people myself, like Epstein.
Yes.
Like, it becomes his own procurement, his own madam, or he's got madams working for him, procurers of people. It's like, that's dark as hell. That's another level of evil, isn't it, really? I mean, if true, it's all allegations still at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, which brings us back to who were his clients? It's always the same question. Who were his clients? Who else knew? What kind of community have you guys built? And therefore, what does that say about all of the other moral lectures that you keep haranguing us with? I'm not that interested in the details. I hope he's innocent. I hope this wasn't true. I hope these guys aren't really like this. But if they are, these aren't the details that I want. I don't want to know the sordid details. What I want to know is who else was involved and what else were they telling us and why were they moralizing at us and hectoring us and lecturing us. That I hope this isn't true. I hope these people aren't that evil. But if they are, it's not the sordid details of their encounters that I'm interested in. It's a list of clients and a list of people who were involved and a list of people who knew and kept quiet about it.
And justice.
And it just seems like that list, again, if it's proven, seems like that list is massive. There's just the odd person, like 50 Cent or Cat Williams, who wasn't interested or actively disgusted by it. It's like the odd one.
Yeah.
Nearly everyone else was like, oh, I've been invited to a P. Diddy orgy or whatever it was. Yes, I'm in the group, I'm in the club. So yeah, it seems like most went along with it. Because of course, another thing, if you didn't, you could quite often have your career ruined.
Yes.
That's what a lot of these defendants are saying, that some people say, well, if he abused you back in 2016 or hung you off a balcony, why did you sort of stay with him? It's like, well, because he was my benefactor.
Yeah.
He was my boss. And if I tried to blow the whistle or all that sort of thing, then my life would have been over, or even feared for their actual life.
So this is an industry where blackmail is rewarded, not honor. And we should just emphasize the concept of honor and the importance of it. I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of. I hope I'm genuinely remorseful. But we do need a culture where honor, remorse, penance are really and truly emphasized, as opposed to a culture where degeneracy is celebrated. Because, again, we've run this experiment. We've tried to live life this way. We've ended up with Weinstein, Epstein, P. Diddy, and God knows who else. And they were all friends with the Clintons and with the great and the good. Okay. How about we try something older and tested and true?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So we'll see how the trial goes. It'll probably last quite a while. But we shall see what happens to Sean Combs.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.